I'm Allie with PotomacBeads, and in this Better Beader episode, we're going to touch on crystals, which have been a really hot topic lately, and I'm going to go over the difference between what is a Rivoli, what is a Flatback, and what is a Chaton. How do they differ, how are they the same, and are they interchangeable? Stay tuned to go over all of these details. So talking crystals without holes, those are usually going to be called crystal stones. Now these stones will have different versions basically of the back of the stone. You have your flatbacks, which when you look at them are going to be completely flat on the back. You have your Rivolis, which are going to have a little bit of an upgrade from the back. And then you have your Chatons, which go into kind of a full sideways there point when you're talking about them. So the difference in the Rivoli, the Chaton, and the Flatback is going to be the back of the piece. Often also there might be some difference towards the front. Chatons are usually going to have a little bit of a flat surface on the front, where Rivolis are usually pointed at the top. When it comes to stones then, this one here, this trillion, does also have a flat top, but it's going to have a Rivoli back. When it is not listed as a Chaton or as a Flatback, you can count on it being that Rivoli style setting, that it has a little bit of a gradient to the back, a little bit of kind of that three-dimensional situation on where it doesn't have a huge rise, but it does have a little bit of that pointed back, just like this one here for the cushion bead and the oval as well as the trillion, just to show you some of our shapes. When you're looking at the Chaton then, the Chaton is going to have that point to a back. So here I have a smaller Chaton, the SS24, which is going to be about 5.4 millimeters, and then I have the SS39. And these Chatons usually are on smaller sizes. You're not generally going to see a Chaton bigger than about 8 millimeter. And they are cut so that they have that nice kind of pointed back with almost an increased depth in it, because you're seeing through the crystal the whole way to the back, and that's what's giving you that shine. Like this SS39, you can also have some Rivolis that are the exact same size. So here I have an 8 millimeter Rivoli, and then I have the SS39, which is going to be about the same. And what is going to make a difference in the use of these is that back. Some patterns you're going to be able to use both Rivolis or Chatons when you get to that size, and some you're not going to be able to. Flatbacks, you want to keep in mind how you're applying them and how you're putting them on. I'm going to take off my earring to show that generally speaking, when doing bead embroidery here, like this comet earring, it's nice to have that flat back to be able to apply directly flat to the surface. Now you can also use Chatons or Rivolis in bead embroidery, or if you're doing something applying to an applique or a backing, but just be aware that as you go from the Flatback, which has a flat back, to the Rivoli, which has a little bit of a point, to a Chaton, usually Chatons aren't going to be used as much in the bead embroidery. However, if you're doing something where you have the back exposed, sometimes those items can be interchangeable. So for instance, in the Nordic ball cover here, I have an 8 millimeter Rivoli in the middle of the piece here. Because of the way that each piece sits, you can see here with the netting of that hubble stitch, there's room in the back if I wanted to use a Chaton instead of a Rivoli. So I could use that as you're looking at a piece and seeing how much of the back is exposed if the back and the point goes a little bit further to the back. Same thing, which some people won't realize, that you could actually use an 8 millimeter flat back stone for this as well if you have one of those. The flatbacks, the Rivolis, the Chatons, they do come in a variety of sizes. As you get larger, you tend to get that Rivoli style backing. However, we do have some flatbacks as well when you get to that larger stone. If you're using a stone as an earring post, so here I have the everyday earrings also using that 8 millimeter Rivoli, I'm not going to want a Chaton because it has a nice point at the back, which is going to take away from my earring length and my earring style. However, like I was saying on this Nordic Christmas ball here, you have plenty of space in the back to use a Chaton. Likewise, when you're looking at something for a setting, or you have something that has a bezel that you're going to add to, you want to think about the style of the back of these stones and if they're interchangeable. So here I have 3 different examples of some things that you may use the stones for. Here I have the oval duo, and you can see that it is flat. So you will need one of the flat stones in order to put into the oval duo because it's a flat surface. Likewise, here I have one of the button shanks, and you're going to want a flat stone to be able to put on that button shank. So say I really want to go to town and make a huge button, I could apply that or apply that there. Sometimes you have settings like these earring settings where you can use a Rivoli or a Chaton. The space in the back will usually indicate and say on the product whether or not it's for a Rivoli or a Chaton. If it's for a Chaton, chances are you can also use a Rivoli in that setting. Same thing if it's for a Rivoli, you can usually use a setting for a Flatback or a cabochon. So if you want to do a gemstone cabochon, you can usually apply them in there as well. When looking at patterns and looking at ideas and looking for inspiration, look at the beads that you have and you can see whether or not you'll have to use a Flatback, whether or not you can use a Chaton, or whether or not you have to use that Rivoli. Those difference in backs are going to be what indicate the different beads in these different styles and how they're used and how they are applied in the beading fashion. Keep in mind too that when you're looking at tiny flatback crystals, these work really well to add not only to your bead embroidery, but also as an addition to create more styles and more designs, creating sometimes a nice little mosaic, as well as you can glue it onto your phone, onto a surface, and apply it also to clothing. So that's generally going to be your uses for your flatback stones when they have them on there. It is nice to be able to use some of them in different varieties and different fashions, but you do want to keep in mind that back and how that's going to affect. So you have your stone size or you have your PP size, which is going to be often converted to millimeters to look at and take in when designing and figuring out how to create and use these 3 different styles of the backs of the crystals. As always, thanks so much for joining me in this Better Beader episode. Hopefully this helped maybe to answer some confusion on Rivolis, Chatons, and Flatback crystals. Keep in mind if you need any materials or you want to check out any of the videos that were mentioned, look below and shop with us online at PotomacBeads.com. If you haven't already, hit that little like button and subscribe so you don't miss anything from us here at Potomac Beads. It really helps to boost the videos and build this awesome beading community. Also, if you have any words of suggestion, words of advice, or ways to help out your fellow beaders, remember you can always comment below the video to really, again, help engage and help answer some questions and give ideas for those that might just get started. As always, thank you so much for watching, and hopefully this episode helped to give you a little bit of information to make you a better beader.